Okay, the Streets, Traffic, and Refuse Committee will be called to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Murphy. Here. Alderman Coder. Here. Alderwoman Boyd.
Here.
Alderman Bosley.
Here.
Alderwoman Martin.
Here.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Chairman Bosley, or Chairman Boyd. I'm sorry.
Present.
President Reed. You have 7 present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and thank everybody for coming today. On Tuesday, I would to say that we had a lively discussion about Board Bill 69 would probably be an understatement. But in light of testimony and other things that came up on Tuesday, I had a meeting with the treasurer. And I want to, first of all, say I want to thank the treasurer for meeting. I want to thank my colleague, Lisa Middlebrook, for being in the meeting. I want to thank Ms. Connie Johnson, a representative from the treasurer's office, for being in the meeting. The meeting was held with great humility and civility. We all talked about what our concerns were, and there was give and take. At the end of the day, we came to a compromise in which everybody could be satisfied. So out of our conference, there's a decision made that the original submitted budget would not be reduced. However, additions will be added to it. The additions that will be added to the budget will be $800,000 to maintain our Neighborhood Stabilization Officer program, $250,000 for 2 tow trucks that support the parking division, and $10 million to support the city's reserve fund. The city's reserve fund was around $26+ million in 2008, and due to the recession, it's been pretty dismal since then. The current level of the reserve fund is about $16.5 million. This $10 million would get us back to a 2008 level, and it will put the citizens of the city of St. Louis in a better position if we ever need those particular funds. It is our hope that we don't have to lay off people. It is our hope that we will continue to fund positions that are authorized. However, depending on market conditions, situations dictate alternatives, and sometimes those alternatives are not pleasant. So in saying that, I would like to move that Board Bill 69 committee substitute be put before the committee for discussion.
I move that we place Board Bill 69 committee sub before the committee. Sorry.
Okay, so it's been moved in second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Chairman Boyd.
Aye.
President Reed. You have 7 aye votes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, now what I'd like to do, because this was done in collaboration with a few people, and I want to also say that the city's budget is not the elected officials' budget. It's the city of St. Louis budget at the end of the day. All the money, the $1.1 billion in the general revenue budget, belong to you, the citizens of the city of St. Louis. All the revenue that's generated by the parking division belongs to you, the citizens of the city of St. Louis. And it's our fiduciary responsibility to ensure that the funds that are received are used in the most efficient and effective manner possible. And that's our chore. And that's what we're obligated to do. So again, with that, I'm going to open up to the committee, and we will not be taking any public testimony, just so that you know. I think we've pretty much exhausted that the other day. But since the full body of the committee was not party to the discussions, I don't want to be rude and disrespectful and leave them out and make this a Jeffrey Boyd bill and not a bill of the committee as a whole. So I will open it up with questions or comments from Alderwoman Murphy.
No, I don't have any questions at this time because we spoke on the phone, and
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
Alderman Coder.
Thank you very briefly, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your work on this, and I'd like to thank the Treasurer's Office as well for working towards this compromise. And I'd like to say to everybody who's here, I mean, I know we have a number of folks who work at the Parking Division present. Thanks for being here today, and thank you for the work you do. I represent downtown. I see a number of familiar faces here who are out working what is not always an easy job, writing tickets to folks. I get that that's difficult, but it's important. I mean, these are not just from a revenue standpoint, but from a perspective of helping retail and helping move people along in the business, the central business district and elsewhere in the city. The work you do is important. It doesn't go unnoticed. So I appreciate your efforts. My issue, from the beginning has not been how the parking divisions run. I think you guys do a wonderful job and a very efficient job. The issue is that I want to make sure every dollar that can go towards helping fund essential city services from parking meter revenue and parking ticket revenue is going towards that purpose. And in the past, and that's not due to the fault of the current treasurer, it's due to a setup under state law, that hasn't been the case. And I'd like to see going forward that, any extra revenues, once the parking division pays its bills and pays its employees, that money is going towards essential city services or towards our reserve fund balance. And I think this agreement today is a step in that direction. So thanks, everybody.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Thank you for Lisa Middlebrook, Brandon Bosley, Jeffrey Boyd, and Jared Boyd and Connie Johnson, because Brandon and I were real clear that we needed to come to the table for us to talk about what's really going on and what do we need to do. So I appreciate our chair for stepping up and saying, okay, let's talk to see what's going on and what we need to do. And so at the end of the day, it wasn't about us as a committee, it was about the city of St. Louis and the residents that reside in the city of St. Louis. You all are a very instrumental part in our city, and so I understand the frustration you might have had, but on our end, we have to look at, as the chair said and Alderman Coder said, we have to look at the overall picture on how it's going to impact our city. So we have a tough job to do. It's not easy to look at people's budgets and saying how we can work things out, but with them coming together, it made a big difference, and so thank you all very much.
Alderman Bosley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone, for being here. First of all, I would like to say I'm extremely happy that we got to a point where we could come to a common agreement and some compromise on everything that's going on. So thank you to the Treasury Department and everybody that worked hard on it. Thank you to the chairman and members of this board. One thing that I would like to personally do is apologize for the last meeting. If you have not been apologized to, and I'm sure it hasn't happened, I just want to make a public apology to those individuals who I asked to come up at the last meeting and speak. My intent, and I want to make it clear, is for everyone to have some real visibility when it comes down to explaining city jobs, and we need transparency. A lot of times people don't understand what's going on in our city, and people don't understand how integral people's jobs are, or what part they play in keeping city services run efficiently and smoothly. So my intent was to give the public an opportunity to see exactly what the jobs that were at stake and the conversation that we were having, exactly who was affected by it and how integral those jobs were to the Treasury Department. In no way, form, or fashion was it intended to put anyone on the spot, even though it may have seemed that way. I did want to make a public apology. Sometimes we don't always get things right. Sometimes we do things in a manner that may seem rushed and it may seem sporadic. And I do apologize for those actions. Sometimes we aren't always connecting and collectively speaking the way that we should as a city. So once again, I would like to publicly apologize to you all and the Treasury Department as a whole. I really appreciate what everybody does, and I know that everybody comes to work every day and they do the best they can to the position that they have to the best of their ability. So, we certainly appreciate those efforts, and sometimes everybody won't know the scope of your job or your position, and that's why you should go out every day and do the best that you can and make sure that nobody can do your job better than you. So once again, I appreciate you all being here, and I sincerely apologize, and I thank you all for going out every day and doing the best you can to bring revenue to our city and make the people in the city happy, because this is where they come and do business at. This is where people who travel to our city, you are our first line of defense when people park. You are the first people that people really get to meet. It's not the residents when they come to the city or they come downtown and they park at the Cardinal Stadium. They get an interaction with the people who are out working at the garages. They interact with the individuals who are out working the streets, bringing them into the garages, keeping their cars safe, and greeting them into our city. So I really appreciate you all for what you all do. And thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderwoman Martin.
No questions, thanks.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
No questions.
You're a hard negotiator, Alderwoman, and you have. The treasurer did express that she wanted the parking commission to be on board with approving the transfer of the $10 million as well, and that is something that I'm very committed to, and it's our hope that we can have a parking commission meeting within the next couple of weeks and actually bring the parking commission policy and this board bill in line with each other, so there will be a happy medium at the end. Some of the decisions that we make are aldermen are very tough decisions. But I'll tell you, through this process, what I'm most proud of is that people who don't necessarily see eye to eye on policy were able to come together and set aside differences on this issue and put the citizens of St. Louis first. And I again want to publicly say thank you to the treasurer for sitting down and having the humility and the civility, as well as my colleague Middlebrook and Ms. Connie Johnson, for making this happen. By no means was this easy. There was give and take. And so I say to you, there are things in here that I'm not satisfied with. And if I had my way, I would have did more. And there are things in here that the treasurer was not satisfied with. And if she had her way, she would have her way, as anybody else would. But the message to the community is, there are times when we should come together for a common good and put the people first. Because none of this is about me or us or whoever. It always must be about the people, because that is why we serve. We serve at the pleasure of the people who elect us to do the best job that we can do. And with that, if there are no questions about the committee substitute, let me just go around and make sure, because there are highlights, members of the committee, that it is bold in the board bill what has been changed. And I want to make sure that you had the opportunity to look at it and you're okay with it. And I'm going to run through the list one more time, and then we're going to take a vote. So, Alderwoman Murphy.
Yes, now I do have a question concerning the parking commission. What if they do not vote to transfer the $10 million?
Good question. Well, through the opinion of the city council's office, this is an appropriations bill, and we have a right and authority to do it as is. But I think out of courtesy and out of respect, that the parking commission should make a policy statement and do a resolution that we all agree on, so that there's harmony. And it's my hope that that will happen. I'm committed to that.
Okay, yes, I hope it does. So this goes through regardless, though?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Coder.
No questions.
Okay. Alderwoman Boyd.
No questions.
Alderman Bosley.
questions.
Alderman Martin?
No questions.
Alderman Middlebrook? Okay. I move that Board Bill 69 committee substitute comes out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook. Chairman Boyd.
Aye.
President Reed. You have 7 aye votes, Mr. Chairman.
Board Bill 69 committee substitute comes out of committee with a due pass recommendation. That will conclude the Streets, Traffic, and the Refuse Committee.